What would you do if the very person in charge of protecting your neighborhood was the one stealing from it, and the only way to expose her was with a trap no one could ever forget? That's exactly what I faced, and when the stink rolled across our cul-de-sac, every single neighbor finally saw the truth. But let me back up, because this story didn't start with laughter. It started with frustration, paranoia, and a woman who thought she ruled us all. Act 1. The conflict begins. When I bought my townhouse in Plano, Texas, I thought I'd finally found peace. After years of noisy apartments and shady landlords, I worked my butt off at a tech job, saved every dime, and moved into what was supposed to be a quiet, safe neighborhood. The lawns were trimmed, the mailboxes lined up in perfect little rows, and the neighbors actually waved when you walked by. For once I felt like I belonged. Well, almost everyone waved. Across the street stood Geraldine Caffrey, the HOA president. 60 sharp features, always carrying that damn clipboard. Instead of welcome to the neighborhood, she just stared, scribbling notes like I was already breaking a dozen rules. At first, I brushed it off. Every community has its stickler, right? But then the packages started disappearing. The first box kitchenware I ordered to finally cook in my own place gone within hours. The second running shoes vanished before I could even get home. By the third, a brand new tool set, I knew it wasn't coincidence. 3 times in 3 weeks? No way. I asked my neighbor Owen if he'd noticed anything. He leaned on his rake, lowered his voice, and said, "Word is, Geraldine's been seen walking off with boxes." I actually laughed. The HOA president? You've got to be kidding. But the more I thought about it, the less funny it seemed. This was the same woman I'd caught standing in my yard, lecturing me about shutter colors like she owned the place. Could she also be bold enough to steal from porches in broad daylight? The thought nagged at me. And once you challenge someone like Geraldine even in your head, there's no going back. Act 2. Escalation and doubt. I decided to play it the right way, at least at first. I sent the HOA a polite, detailed complaint, dates, tracking numbers, missing packages. Geraldine's reply hit my inbox within an hour. The HOA is not responsible for package security. Homeowners should safeguard their own deliveries. Translation: not her problem. So I confronted her in person right there on her driveway while she clipped roses. I asked why the HOA wouldn't care about theft. She didn't even blink. Just told me to keep my shrubs within height restrictions and warned me not to make false accusations. That wasn't a conversation. That was a threat. I went to the police next. An officer listened, nodded, then said the one thing I didn't want to hear. "Without proof, there's nothing we can do. Maybe set a decoy package." That night, sitting in my living room, I felt useless. My camera hadn't caught a thing. My complaint got brushed aside, and even the cops couldn't help. I actually asked myself, what if I'm wrong? What if I've been paranoid, letting a clipboard-wielding neighbor live rent-free in my head? Part of me wanted to just ignore it, suck up the losses and move on. But then I talked with Irene 2 doors down. She admitted she'd seen Geraldine carry a box into her garage once, swearing she was keeping it safe. Irene never got her package back. Then Victor told me about his missing golf clubs, the same brand he later spotted in Geraldine's backyard being swung by her grandson. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together. And it wasn't paranoia. That's when I stopped feeling crazy and started feeling angry. I wasn't the only victim. She'd been using her position, her authority as a shield to get away with it. And if the system couldn't stop her, then I'd have to. The officer's words came back. Set up a decoy. Only I wasn't about to do it halfway. Glitter bombs. Too harmless. Geraldine had humiliated neighbors for years with fines and power trips. I needed something unforgettable. And then I remembered the skunk. 2 weeks earlier, one had sprayed near my garage and the smell had lingered for days. I couldn't scrub it out no matter what I tried. That stink was pure, unavoidable punishment. And in that moment, my plan clicked into place. Act 3. The trap and the fall. The next morning, I bought a live trap from a feed store, baited it with peanut butter, and by dawn, I had my accomplice, a restless black and white skunk. I slid the cage into a cardboard box, cut air holes, taped it shut, and slapped on a bright sticker. Fragile handle with care. On the outside, it looked like any delivery. On the inside, it was justice waiting to explode. That afternoon, I set it on my porch camera rolling and waited. My heart thumped every time a car passed. Then there she was, Geraldine striding with her clipboard eyes scanning like a hawk. Her gaze locked on the box. She hesitated, glanced around, then scooped it up like she was doing the world a favor. Straight into her garage, I whispered. Got you. And a minute later it happened. First came a metallic clatter, then a shriek so sharp it rattled windows. And then, the smell. That unmistakable, eye-watering stench rolled across the cul-de-sac like a toxic cloud. Neighbors stepped out coughing, covering their noses. And then Geraldine stumbled into view. Her blouse was stained, her hair wild, and her clipboard lay abandoned on the driveway. She gagged, flailed, and then locked eyes with me across the street. You. She screamed, pointing at me. I stepped onto my porch arms, folded calm as ever. Everything okay over there, Ms. Caffrey? Gasps, murmurs some neighbors, even laughed. For once she wasn't the enforcer. She was the spectacle, and my camera had caught every second. She tried to spin it, claimed it was harassment, criminal even, but Victor called out, "Funny, I thought you said the HOA doesn't handle theft. So why were you opening a package that wasn't yours?" The crowd turned on her. Irene snapped, "Protecting us, or protecting yourself." Years of bottled-up frustration finally spilled out. Residents started sharing their own stories of missing deliveries, bogus fines, and Geraldine's intimidation. A few days later, the HOA called an emergency meeting. Geraldine marched in, trying to regain control, insisting she'd been the victim. But the room had already shifted. Testimony after testimony piled up. People laughed bitterly, jeered, demanded answers. And when I finally spoke, I didn't raise my voice. I just told the truth. I moved here looking for peace. Instead, I found someone abusing power to take from the very people she was supposed to serve. That's not leadership. That's selfishness. And we deserve better. The vote wasn't even close. Geraldine was removed as HOA president on the spot. She dropped her clipboard like a gavel and stormed out red-faced, silent. And that was it. The queen of our little kingdom dethroned not by rules or bylaws, but by her own greed and a single skunk. Closing line. Sometimes the smallest act of defiance is enough to bring down the biggest bully.